All right, time for another edition of the Panjandrum. All right, this is another test of the Panjandrum. Feeling a moment of inspiration. Those who are not familiar, this is an opportunity to speak on things that I see, opportunity to address issues that are pain points for those like-minded individuals who aspire for greatness. I want to speak momentarily on a concept that I call of chasing great. We Men lie, women lie, all manner of animal lie, but numbers do not lie. Statistics over opinions. As you continue to progress statistically up the list of successful folks, be it mentally, in terms of your mental health, be it in terms of your intellectual higher edification, or just your practical intelligence in respects to your profession and or your interaction with the community. When we speak of wisdom, when we speak of physical health, physicality, and when we speak of financial literacy and financial prosperity, statistics do not lie. Some of these things cannot be quantified, but a lot of them can be. So one of the concepts that I have ingrained into my day-to-day mantras, creed, modus operandi is chasing the 3%. And that's 3% of the population in terms of success. Now, this number is not a flat number, but there are several metrics you can do to see folks that qualify in the top 3%. Easiest metric is financial components. That one doesn't concern me as much because there's a lot of luck and external variables and outliers that impact your financial success. But in terms of other things like your mental efficiency, your mental health, your mental aptitude, and your mental your ability to apply mental concepts, these are things that are much more practical in their when you quantify them. There are tests that one can take, whereas, for example, say a medical profession, doctors did not make a lot of money, in the 19th century. It wasn't until doctors started to unionize and set standards on how many folks could become medical professionals that they were able to increase their worth by creating scarcity and by regulating who could call themselves a medical professional. And in turn, you continue, as you do to this day, to see their market value inflate, and that with that comes more guap. But I can also speak to folks with a high school diploma, you know what I'm saying, getting stupid rich, and a whole nother conversation. So money, I don't overly obsess over that when I speak of chasing 3%, but it is a component. You have to have that hustler's ambition and that desire for more. But more importantly than just having more, you have to have a plan for your the fruits of your labor. And when you do want more, you have to have a plan for the more. And it has to be bigger than just, I want to, have a more expensive this or more expensive that. Because if that's your motivation, then you won't have the that ambition required to compete at a higher level. So again, we're talking about modus operandi. There's one quote that I always speak to in this chasing the 3% concept, and it's mental, physical, financial, health, and wealth. These are the components in everything that I do, that I lay out for folks, that I want folks to take advantage of. From this concept that I have ingrained into my day-to-day lifestyle, spawned this concept of chasing the 3%. I remember a time when I heard Bill Clinton speak on stage at an open forum. And the funny thing about political events is the folks who support a political candidate, they tend to applaud vigorously like it was a freaking professional wrestling match for the folks that they support, be it face or heel. In this instance, Clinton was the face. And Clinton stood up there on stage. He stood back, legs spread, standing big dick style, and said, you know what? I thought about it, and I've lived a better life than 98 or 99% of the people in the world. And he stood back and basked. And that's a paraphrase, but essentially that's what he said. And this crowd was raucous in their applause. And I stood there and I watched, amazed at the fact that he could say what may be the most arrogant, and even potentially one of the more accurate statements I've ever heard in my life, and everyone applauds. It was amazing to me. From that concept, it started my path towards looking at the percentages of things, or at least it progressed my path, because I was always familiar with the concept of the talented 10th and was always someone who was expected to be a contributing member of the talented 10th from as far back as, pre-teenage years. So again, to speak to the purpose of this, we're talking about chasing the 3%, and I want to share this with folks, because once you start getting into that top 5%, and my cutoff at 3%, it starts to really hit a completely different gear. I mean, the folks who are in the top 3%, they are functioning on a level that is, would seem superhuman to the average citizen. They are taking advantage of their day. They're pushing themselves intellectually, physically. They are finding opportunities, and they are making paths where there was no path, building bridges. They are game changers, period, point blank. So my day-to-day concept is chase the 3%. So I'm looking for folks who are extraordinary. Folks who aren't, it ain't about just having a little money. It ain't about just being mentally strong or metaphysically strong. There are also physical components that they put into place. So they challenge themselves mentally and physically. And it's not just about having some money or being successful in industry. They're also adding all of these components together, and they're just challenging and pushing the envelope on so many different levels that they deserve admiration, but more importantly, they deserve identification, because once you identify folks who are moving on a higher level, then it should give you something to aim for, particularly when they're further along than you in the game of life. So having said that, I'm on here for one reason and one reason only today, and that is to impress upon you the importance of finding a benchmark that is ahead of you to aim for. Anytime I hear someone tell me that they have no concept of role model or anyone that they model themselves after, my first thought is they lack the ambition to really change their narrative. Some folks would argue against that, and I'd be welcome to that. But if you are truly ambitious, and we acknowledge that things could be worse, but they should be better, then there has to be someone in a category that is doing better than you. And even if you were the best in a category, then to be the best in one category means that there are other categories that you're not the best in, because no one's the best at everything. So there should be someone for you to model after. So I want folks to embrace this concept of finding a benchmark. For me, it's the 3%. 3%, these are some sociopathic, narcissistic, get it done type of folks. And I'm not saying they have mental neuroses. I'm just saying that these are the type of folks who are just, they're insane about trying to be better and to pursue greatness. That may not be it for you. It's a crawl, walk, run type of scenario. But whatever that benchmark is, whether you say, I need to chase the 30%, I need to chase the 20%, 15%, and so on and so forth. Find that benchmark. Find a way to quantify it. And don't lose sight of the qualitative benefits of pursuing growth. New levels will always come with new adversity or quote unquote new devils, but they also come with new opportunity. You can never go home again in the sense that once you open Pandora's box, you're open to a new level of this game of life. Chase that next level. We chasing the 3%. Panjandrum, another test of it. Let go.